Hey everyone! Now you guys asked me about a lot of different gear setups and a bunch of different various reviews, so I figured it may be helpful to actually do a gear loadout video. And today we'll be looking at some loadout options on the GBRS Group Assaulters Belt V2. And then you can see some of the really great options that I've found that you can use to set your belt up with. Alright, let's do this. So in the past battle belt videos, I've been wanting to show you like all the details of the belt and then actually all the details of the actual belt loadout, but I think it got to be too much and both the actual review and the actual loadout suffered because I was trying to jam too much stuff all together. So instead of doing that review and the loadout together, I figured it makes more sense to just do the actual loadout and then the actual review separately. And then folks don't have all the loadout nonsense if they just want to have the review of the actual belt. Or you may come back and be like, oh, what was that thing he was talking about? And then actually take the time to explain why and what it is in a little bit more detail. And I actually had some gear that hasn't come in yet, so while I'm finishing up the actual Assaulters Belt review, I figured I'd show you all the gear that I ended up with. Real quick though, don't set your belt up like this where you use like every single slot of molly that's available. I'm just showing you options. I would remove some of this depending on what it was I was doing. Just don't be Batman. That should kind of be your theme when you're putting your belt together. But I will say that I think some of the gear on this belt is some of the best I've ever used. And I've really had a lot of lessons learned putting together so many different belt setups for so many different belt reviews on exactly what works and what just absolutely doesn't. So what I'll do is I'll actually put a link up here that'll link to the actual GBRS Assaulters belt when that review is done. But I'm not gonna lie, I see a lot of belts and I hate that belt. Hate that belt. I want to throw that inner belt just like straight into a fire. So you may want to hold off if you're looking to purchase that belt. I only want to make you the most educated consumer, and there's nothing wrong if you choose to purchase that belt. I won't make fun of you, but yeah, it sucks. And the GBRS guys are probably going to beat me up for it, so you may as well enjoy my last video. So let me show you this badass setup I put on this GBRS Assaulters belt that I'll never ever wear. Starting from the strong side and working our way around, the first piece I have on this belt is the low-rise multi-tool pouch. This holds my Meshtastic T-node used for encrypted close-range SMS communication. And I'll show you my journey with these and how to put them all together and set them all up in a future video. But they're really pretty cool because you can still have communications if cell phones and radio signals are down or jammed. I keep one of these T-beams on every carrier or belt setup now for comm out situations. And this low-rise multi-tool pouch from Grim Hunter Tactical is actually designed specifically to actually hold these T-nodes. And I'll put a link to these down in the description. And if you're interested in purchasing one of these actual pouches for either a multi-tool or for one of these T-beams, use discount code TLDCO and save yourself a few bucks. And as I stated, if you don't use a mesh device, I also found that these low-profile pouches fit multi-tools extremely well. Oh, also, with the low-rise pouch and all of the other gear that's connected to this belt, I'm using 3/4 inch one wrap fed through the pouch and the molly slots on the belt. I did a small tutorial on how to put all that together, and I'll put a link up here if you want to know how to feed that one wrap into your molly belt. All right then, what's next? Next, we get to one of my absolute favorite parts of this entire belt setup. First, I'll remove the holster to see everything that's underneath and what's happening here. But this holster from HCM Holsters is absolutely killer, and I'll get to that in a second. At the base of this holster setup is a True North modular holster adapter. I got the multicam black version from GBRS to match the same colorway of the belt. As you can see, the adapter itself gives you a ton of different attachment and mount options. You can increase or decrease the height while also making various adjustments to the angle of the holster. And some folks like to connect their True North modular holster adapter by putting the two tabs through the molly slots or other people just like to put it behind the belt and then just sandwich it in place. And a whole bunch of you get all butthurt about how other people put their belts together. And it makes absolutely zero difference, as I do both connection methods on various different belts. But on this GBRS setup, I fed the tabs through the MOLLE. I also got the True North adapter leg strap, so it matched the entire setup in multicam black. But I removed the little leg strap adapter for something better. True North used to have like a metal one, and when you'd use that, it would just like straight grind into your hip. They did upgrade to a plastic style, but it's still super uncomfortable. Instead, I used the 9-toes adapter, as this forms a much more comfortable setup that wraps around the leg and doesn't cause any sort of hot spots. And I absolutely love this setup, but if you find that you get in and out of vehicles a lot for like duty use, you may want to actually do one of the articulating leg straps like over at Arbor Arms. But both of them are great setups, but I love Ben over at 9-toes. He's absolutely awesome. Continuing with our holster setup, we have the QLS setup on the True North adapter, so we can connect in various other holsters into this setup quickly and easily. The holster on this belt is made by the amazing folks over at HCM Holsters. They completed our holster in multicam black to match everything, along with optic cuts, molds for a Streamlight TLR-9, and level 2 retention with the SLS hood. This holster is Safariland level good, and I have no reservations on putting them on the same level. And the whole holster setup becomes incredibly sleek without any additional bulk anywhere. Just being able to press down on the hood to flip it out of the way and free the firearm is absolutely awesome. And that holster is one of my favorite pieces on this setup, and you can also use discount code TLDCO if you want to save yourself a few bucks on some custom holsters too. And if you're curious on the whole pistol setup in this holster, it's the Staccato 2011P with the TLR-9 mentioned and a Holosun 509T. The 509T on the Staccato is actually the version 1, but I also have a version 2 also, and I'll be showing you a comparison of that version 1 and version 2 soon also. But here's a sneak peek. They both shoot amazingly well, so don't stress about which one you have. Moving down the assaulter belt, next we see our Grim Hunter tactical radio pouch. Here I have my Lilygo DMR. This is a smaller radio that is tied into both analog and digital channels. Being able to monitor nationwide and regional DMR is amazingly useful. And it's overall just a great little backup radio that I could then just give off to a teammate or to a civilian in some sort of emergency situation. Then we come to our Grim Hunter tactical medical cover and 6x6 pouch. This medical cover has a spot on the top to place a tourniquet, an area on the front for pens or chem light, along with the Velcro area if you want to add any medical patches or whatnot on the front. I'm a huge fan of this medical setup, and I think it's on all my belts at this point, because you can just remove the medical stuff. If you're like in a vehicle and it's bothering you, you could then just throw it in a pocket. And to do that, you just undo the buckle and then reach for your pouch, and then pull the 6x6 pouch free if you needed to provide aid or put it somewhere else. Or you can just unbuckle it and then hand that whole 6x6 pouch off to someone else that's in need of medical supplies or already rendering aid. Inside of the 6x6 pouch, you have the option of setting everything up inside of the pouch like I have in this Kanai 6x6, or you could put it all in a single sleeve like I have in this setup with the Grim Hunter medical sleeve. So then everything stays self-contained, and it's easy to move this small package between all your different pieces of kit, and then it all stays organized and you have all the different pieces that you need. And it has a cool little Grim Hunter tactical logo on it. Sweeping around the belt, we then have our dump pouch that can be expanded to hold mags, camera gear, or whatever random stuff you have. And this is mostly just the dumping grounds for whatever it is that I have in my hands. And I mostly think of it as just temporary storage for all my random things. And I'd say that 90% of the time, it's just holding different camera equipment like lenses and filters and such. But if I was actually using this belt in a tactical environment, I probably wouldn't throw my mags in there, as it's just as easy to throw all those spent mags into the front of your plate carrier. Next on our belt setup, we have our Spartan Blades knife. The sheath itself has a safety release on one side, and the entire setup can be flipped for left or right-handed use. What's nice also is that the two tabs fit MOLLE slots, so it's easy to secure via the MOLLE connections on the belt. I also added a loop of Velcro one wrap to further secure the belt sheath. Now, I don't know if I would really keep this blade on the belt at all times. More than likely, this would probably just end up in a bag somewhere. Yeah, running with this would get super duper annoying, super duper fast. But the actual Spartan blade itself is really nice, and I have no complaints. And this is the Spartan Damaysus with the black blade and black micarta grip to match everything else on the belt. And if I did a different blade setup, I would probably do like a Winkler or something else that's been proven. And somebody out there in the comments is going to be like, you should get one of those half-face blades or one of those stupidly expensive ones. Absolutely no. And that's because I use my stuff, and particularly my knives, and all knives break because they're just tools. The thing I don't need is a paperweight on my desk to make Instagram photos. Maybe you need that though, and good news, they're only like $700 or $800. I won't judge you at all. Continuing now to our rifle mag pouches, I went with the mid-height S-Tac 5.56 mag pouches with shotgun shell holders, all done in multicam black. Why did I do this one when I don't even own a shotgun? I think it was on sale. Regardless, if I did have a shotgun, it would be awesome to be able to place all the actual shells here, as it's not using any space that I was making any functional use of before. And these Esstac mag pouches offer best-in-class retention, and these pouches have proven themselves over and over again. And having the mag pouch located on my hip line on my weak side allows for super fast access to a magazine for reloads. I will highly recommend you use either the mid or the low height for the magazine. The highs on a belt setup make it so you can't really get a good Coke can grip when you go to actually get a good purchase on the magazine. Trust me, I've bought a lot of magazine pouches that don't work at all. Next we have our Esstac magnetic pistol pouches. And yes, I actually bought these on purpose this time. The pistol mag pouches have the same amazing retention that Esstac is known for, but it also has a magnetic panel on the outside. This allows you to place extra mags on the outside if you need to bring additional ammo. Or you can also connect all your tools and equipment into it. So if you're working with tools, it's easy to place a multi-tool or shears here as you work on different aspects of the situation, and then still have your tools available to you easily. And I really like these, but I actually had one more really cool thing I wanted to show you. I actually got the Shaw Concepts actual mag pouch adapters so that we could run these in a canted configuration. How cool would that be? Canted mag pouches? I was so excited. Well, that excitement was dashed because the GBRS Velcro is swapped, so you can't use the Shaw Concept adapter with it at all. It's like you were designed in the worst way possible. So you all get to see the normal crappy 90-degree pouches here. I did put the Shaw Concept adapters on my Ronin Senshi with the Tyr Tactical Happy mag pouches. But don't buy those. They are $25 each. And they suck. Like, they suck real bad. Like, really, really bad. They don't even fit the belt properly and make the mags flop all over the place. Those are 100% a good concept, but not so much good in application, so pass on those. The last bit we used was the Haley Strategic Anything hook to be able to connect in a cool set of gloves. We never actually bothered to get any gloves for this setup. The Anything hook can be connected either way, so having the Velcro reversed isn't that big of a deal. Well, sort of. The little hook piece seemed to always come off onto the actual inner belt. And I'm gonna be just a little bit sad when I throw that entire setup into the fire and it has the Anything hook on it. But that's the setup that I ended up with on my GBRS Group Assaulters Belt V2, and I really do think that this is one of the absolute best configurations I've done so far, and I really love all the gear that ended up on it. It'll just all go on a different belt. And you'll all see why I came to that conclusion and why the GBRS group guys are going to want to beat me up when I do my review. So keep an eye out for that GBRS group Assaulter's Belt V2 review soon. And no one's going to care when we sell you. Well, I hope seeing some of my belt setup was useful to you and helpful in some of your purchasing decisions. As always, I want to say thanks to all of our Patreon supporters. You're the ones that make all this cool stuff possible. And I want to say thanks to everybody that likes, comments, and subscribes. Comment down below what you thought the coolest part of this GBRS setup was. All right, everyone, wash out. Magnets. Magnets, I just want some magnets, magnets, magnets.